Hey guys, it's Cece, and this video is going to be my May wrap-up. In May, I read 9 books, 2 of which were graphic novels, and I think I did pretty well, so we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first book I read, I don't have a physical copy of, because I read it at school, and also I borrowed it from someone, so it was never my book in the first place. But that book was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This was the second Gillian Flynn book I've ever read. The other one was Gone Girl. Okay, so I liked Dark Places. Dark Places is about a girl named Libby Day, and when she was very young, her whole family was murdered by her brother, and he is now in jail. And through a series of events, she finds out that maybe her brother didn't kill her whole family, and she's been wrong her whole life. So, this book was good. It was not as good as Gone Girl. It was really good in that it has that Gillian Flynn thing where you don't really have any good characters. Everyone's sort of a bad guy in some way. They're all kind of gray. And overall, it was just a really good mystery. Like, I feel like at some point in this book, I thought everyone did it. I was like, maybe it was the 6-year-old. I don't know. Like, Gillian Flynn had me on a little hunt because I did not know who did this. This was a good book. Not as good as Gone Girl, but it was really good. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book I read was actually a reread. I've reread this book multiple times, but it's been a really long time since I've reread it. And that book is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Paolini? I don't know. Anyway, this is a reread for me because The Inheritance Cycle is one of my favorite series of all times. So this is a young adult high fantasy series that I started reading, I don't even know, 8th grade maybe, and I've read multiple times. And I was just in the mood to try to get back into young adult fantasy before I started some newer young adult fantasy. And this lived up to how I remember the series being. It was so good. I love Eragon as a character. I think he's really interesting. I love all the characters in Eragon. It has such a cool collection of characters that you just like want to know. You want a whole book about everybody. And yeah, I love this book. It is as good as I remember it. I don't think I'll reread the rest of the series because I have other things to do, but reading this book made me want to reread the rest of the series. But, like, look at these monsters. Like, it would take me forever. No, I can't. Anyway, this book was excellent. I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5 because it's fantastic. And I loved rereading it. Yeah, okay. The next book I read was also young adult high fantasy, but this one was new to me, and that was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which is the first book in the Throne of Glass series. This series follows a girl named Selena Sardothian, who is a trained assassin, and in the first book, she is in, like, a slave camp, and the prince and the captain of the guard get her because the king is holding a competition. And this competition is a bunch of really tough people from all over the kingdom, and whoever wins the competition gets their freedom and also becomes the king's champion. But the king is not a great guy. So Selena is in it exclusively for her freedom because she has not been free. This book was really good. I feel like I didn't like it as much as some other people did. I didn't hate it. I really liked it and I was excited to read the other ones. But the love triangle though. Why must there always be a love triangle? It was so distracting from everything else, because every time there was a love triangle scene, I was like, okay, but, like, there are other things. I want to get back to those. Not that I didn't like both of the guys. They were cool. And I just didn't really care about who was getting who, because there was, like, a fight to the death, and then they were like, but I love her. Anyway, this was really good, and I was really excited to read the rest of them. And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews, which I originally saw on BookTube on, I think Raylene's channel. I don't know. Padfoot and Prongs 07. She, like, loves this book. And so I finally picked up a copy. This was so funny. So this book is about a guy named Greg, and he finds out this girl he used to know a long time ago has leukemia, and his mom makes him go and hang out with her, and it's also his friend Earl, who he makes films with, but they're all really terrible. This book was just really funny. I laughed the whole time I read it. I read it in like a day. Like, this was a really, really fast read. It has some really cool pages too. Like, there are pages that look like scripts, and sometimes it's told in bullet points, and sometimes it's like summary paragraphs. I don't know. The narrator, Greg, is really funny, and I liked seeing a high school movie from I liked seeing a high school book that wasn't like every other high school book. Unfortunately, I didn't really like the end, like the last paragraph where he kind of explained everything. Sort of took me out of it. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite ending, which is what took the rating down, because this was setting out to be one of my favorite books this year. And then also there were some other comments in the middle, like conversations that I wasn't really, I don't know, I didn't like them. But overall, it was really good, and it was really funny, and I do recommend it, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. This book, I don't even know how to tell you. So, I liked the first book. This book was, I don't even have words. This book was so good. Selena was so interesting in this book. She was so cool because okay, so the reason I liked the first book was that she sort of wasn't like a lot of the other young adult female heroines that have been in books of late. She's aware that she's beautiful, she's sort of arrogant, and she doesn't have a hero complex about not killing people because she's an assassin, so obviously, but they went even deeper in this. I loved the backstory, I loved the characters, and her friendship. I don't think that's a spoiler. I mean, yeah. This book was so good. Yes, there were still some love triangle elements, but much less, and I was able to ignore them because, wow. So I give this book 5 out of 5 stars, if you can't tell that I'm raving about the second book. I can't wait to read the third book. I'm about to start it today. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Okay. So, the next book that I read was None of the Above by I.W. Gregorio. And it is about a girl named Chrissy. And after a bad experience the night of homecoming, she goes to the doctor and she discovers that she has something called androgen insensitivity syndrome, which means she is intersex. I learned a lot about intersex and all of the different types this year in a human sexuality course in college, so I was so excited to find out that there was a young adult book about it, and actually more than one, because there's a book called Golden Boy that I really want to read now. This was so well written. This was probably in my top 3 books that I've read so far this year. It was so good. It was so refreshing to see a young adult contemporary tackle something that I have not seen in books before. And I thought it did a great job. I thought Chrissy was a really good character. I thought the story was great. I've seen people complain that she's like really immature, but I think that she handled it really well, and I think everyone should read this book because it was really great. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month, I've actually been reading all May, and that was Odd Girls and Twilight Lovers by Lillian Faderman, which is a nonfiction book it's a history of lesbian life in 20th century America. I was really excited about this book when I got it at the beginning of May, and then it kept putting me to sleep because it reads like a history book. I don't have a problem with nonfiction. I've read like a decent amount of nonfiction this year even, but I could not, it took me so long to get through this. I just barely finished it a couple of days ago, and I got it at the beginning of the month. So I only gave this one 3 out of 5 stars because I just kept falling asleep. And it was really interesting, and I learned a lot of stuff, but yeah, 3 out of 5. The next 2 books that I read, my last 2 books, it was 2 graphic novels, and they were, Boxers and Saints, which they're by Jean Luen Yang, and it's It's a series. They're like a box set collection. I got these from the library. Look how beautiful they are. And I loved it so much. Now I want my own copies because they're beautiful and they're really cool. I know Gene Luen Yang because he does some of the art for the Avatar comics, which I adore, so I was really excited to read these. They are about the Boxer Rebellion, and each book is about one side of that rebellion. Boxers is about a boy who fights in the Boxer Rebellion, and Saints is about a girl who becomes Christian, and their paths their paths intertwine, and it's really interesting. And I love them, and I teared up a little bit in the last few pages of this book because they were really, really good. And I want my own copies because I love them. So I gave each of these, I gave each of these 4 out of 5 stars. They were really great. So yeah, those are the books that I read this month. It was a really good reading month, and I'm excited to read next month. Next month, I'm starting out with TBR Takedown, so I'll be reading a lot of books really quickly. And my June TBR video will be up soon, so I suppose I will see you next then. Yeah. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye!